Brad is the Algebra High team's star player. 2 years ago, when Brad was 2/3 as tall as he is now, he was 5.5 feet tall. How tall is Brad now? To find Brad's height today, we first need to choose a variable to represent this. So, let's pick a variable. Let's pick h. H seems like a good variable to pick for height. So, h will be equal to Brad's current height. Now, our second step is to look back at our problem and see if we can find an equation that includes h. That way we can solve for it. If we look back at our problem, it says that 2 years ago, Brad was 2/3 as tall as he is now, and that he was 5.5 feet tall at the time. 2/3 as tall as he is now. That means he was 2/3 times his current height, and his current height is h. So we need to take 2/3 times h. This right here is his height 2 years ago, 2/3 as tall as he is now. And his height 2 years ago was 5.5 feet tall. So this equals 5.5. Now we have an equation that includes h. But before we can solve for it, let's look at it. We have this mixed fraction of 5.5. To make it easier to solve for h, let's first convert this mixed fraction to an improper fraction. So we rewrite 2/3 times h, and then to get 5.5 to an improper fraction, we take the whole number of 5 times the denominator of 2, and then add that product to the numerator. We get an improper fraction of 11/2. Now that looks a little bit easier to solve. So let's solve for h. This will give us our answer. To get h by itself, we need to move this 2/3 to the other side of our equation. So we need to multiply by the reciprocal of 2/3. And the reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. All we do is take the fraction 2/3 and flip it over to get the reciprocal. So we multiply by 3/2 on both sides of our equation. When we do this, the left-hand side becomes h, and the right-hand side gets multiplied together and becomes 33/4. So now we have an answer, h is equal to 33/4. But normally, we don't represent height as an improper fraction. So let's convert our answer back to a mixed fraction. To do this, we want to take 33 divided by 4. This happens wholly 8 times. Then our remainder of 1 gets put in the numerator of a fraction over our denominator of 4. Now we have an answer of h is equal to 8 1/4. But since we did so much converting back and forth between improper and mixed fractions, let's make sure that everything is correct. So let's check our answer. To do this, we'll take our answer of 8 1/4 and plug it back into our original equation. Then see if it makes a true statement. So we'll have 2/3 times 8 1/4, and we want to know if that's equal to 5.5. Well, we have mixed fractions again, so let's convert them to improper fractions. We'll have 2/3 times 33/4, and we want to know if that's equal to 11/2. Well, when we multiply the left side, we get the fraction 66/12. And if we reduce that fraction, we get the fraction 11/2. So we get a true statement. That means that we did our problem correctly, and we have an answer of h is equal to 8 1/4. Well, 8 1/4 what? Remember, h is height, and since we're talking about height, we have to label it. So we label it with feet. That means that Brad is 8 1/4 feet tall. Wow, Brad is a pretty tall guy.